Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome!
Welcome. Welcome.
Nasa mo?
Welcome saan?
Basta welcome!
Welcome.
Yan! I'm here in Philinbes, Alabang. Pruride na guys. Good luck sa race. Ingat.
The fire is raging. Wanna run again. With me out and let me breathe again. I'm broken inside, but I'm still alive. Yeah, I'm still alive.
What is up guys, Vega here. Just like to give you a review of this race. We all might be able to learn from it. Let me know your thoughts, post in the comments below. Alright, we're starting off with this criterium. As we all know, racing categories here in the Philippines are based on age. So this is the Pruride 2019 26 to 34 category. It's a 12 lap race with 2 kilometers per lap. And there are corresponding points for every third lap sprint. That's very uncommon here, but winning was my goal for this race. I just wanted to finish at least at the top 20, so staying with the bunch was my primary objective. On this race, I've got 2 teammates, Martin, who's currently up in front riding a white Pinarello, and Richard, who's nowhere to be found. He's probably at the back of the group. And we're riding this first lap at the same time. The first lap usually is the rolling lap, the free lap, whatever you want to call it. This is where we get to warm up, because it's very rare here for racers to bring the trainers to warm up before the race. I know it's not enough, but it's better than nothing. So for new racers out there, one cool tip is to join the back of the peloton before your actual race to get yourselves warmed up. During this lap, we also get a chance to review the entire course. From the looks of it, there are a few manhole covers sticking out of the pavement, and there's also a puddle of water somewhere around this area there. At the same time, I'm trying to spot who the strong riders are to make sure I catch the right wheel, since I don't know most of the guys who are participating in this race. Most of the time, the jersey tells me if they belong to a racing team or not. In this case, I can see a few guys from the Navy, Go for Gold, and some people from Opus. How do you pronounce that? I'm also trying to position myself in the middle of the pack, so moving up front and towards the rear would be easier. You gotta remember that this is a crit. 1 second you're up in front, another you're already at the back. I'm also preventing getting stuck up in front, where I'm most bad at. Most of the races where I got dropped was because of this. Stay in front for too long, racers usually take advantage of this, and you just end up blowing it. Now I was able to catch up with Martin, who's on my right, and we're entering this corner, which was a few hundred meters away from the starting line. At this point, the real race was about to begin. I knew that I'd be able to use the corners to my advantage due to my bottom bracket's clearance, which allows me to pedal during cornering. I'd be talking about my cornering technique for this race a lot more later on, so stay tuned. As soon as the race started, we were already hitting 50 kilometers per hour. I'd be entering zone 4 in a bit, and since this is a well advertised race, I assumed that there will be newbies joining the race, and most of the time they hammer on the first few laps. So this was the time to sit back and stay in the middle of the pack and try to conserve as much energy as possible. I'm also trying to keep an eye on my teammate Martin, making sure that he's always close nearby, because if he decides to move forward, I would do the same thing. Also trying to keep an eye on my heart rate. My zone 4 heart rate is at around 170 beats per minute. Staying a little bit below that threshold would be beneficial for this situation. I'm not using a power meter because I don't have one. Now, I know using a power meter would be a lot more convenient than using a heart rate, as there'd be no delays when it comes to receiving data. But since I'm not planning on attacking for the entire race, I'd be keeping a steady pace all throughout the entire race. Using a heart rate monitor would already be sufficient. While entering this corner, you could see how far behind we were from the lead, so I decided to move up in the peloton. Martin was just behind me during this time, and as we were approaching the starting line is where I committed my first mistake. I was drafting behind this guy, and he got left behind by the group. He wasn't able to bridge it, and I was still behind him. So it was a decision to bridge the gap, because if that were to continue, we would all fall behind. Luckily, Martin went straight ahead right here to bridge the gap for me, and before you know it, we're already back in the pack. We're already on the third lap, and we're looking at this corner again. What I usually do is to keep the corners tight and race on the inside, but in this case, most of the guys hit their brakes while they're on the inside. So every time I hit this corner, I go outside and not pull the brakes. I was able to pass 2 or 3 guys every time we hit this corner, and as we hit the exit, there usually is a guy who would get out of the saddle to get back to the group, and this was an opportunity to gain speed and not exert too much effort. This is now the 4th lap, and as you can see, the bumps on the road has already messed up the camera's view. At this part, Martin was on my left, and suddenly someone crashed. So I yelled to Martin to go left, but he instinctively went right. Luckily, no one else was hurt, but as you get tense, you get exhausted as well. So during this part, I needed to regain composure and relax so that I may be able to continue with the race. Now, here's another mistake that I've committed. Martin has just passed this guy, and I decided to rest a little bit and not follow. Big mistake, huge mistake. I should have stuck on Martin's wheel, because I didn't notice that this guy was already getting tired as well, and I was forced to bridge a gap, or else we'd all be left behind. Look at that. So I was running at almost 50 kilometers per hour without any lead out, trying to bridge the gap, and my heart rate was over my 1 hour threshold. We're at around 176 beats per minute. This was really painful right here, but luckily we were already nearing the corner, and I knew I'd be able to catch up with the group when they all pull on the brakes, and that was what happened right here. And as we exit the corner, I was already in the middle of the pack again, and it was already time for me to rest. Now, a few moments as soon as I rejoined the pack, someone launched a devastating attack, and from the looks of it, I'd have to dig deep again and hold it, since I haven't recovered from the bridge that I just made. Everybody here was now trying to get in on the attack, and I knew that this was trouble for me. Now, luckily, this only lasted up until the puddle up on the road. When we've recovered from the previous attack, this guy decided to chase the lead pack and launched an attack. Martin and I wanted to close this down if we ever want to get back to the lead group, and this was where I committed my biggest and final mistake. We've caught up with the guy who just attacked. The problem was I was so tired and didn't notice that there was a gap between me and my teammate. He was also accelerating through the exit of the corner, and little did I know that he was planning on the breakaway And when this all happened, I was torn to either follow and blow up or stay with the group and rest. I decided to stay behind, but it was the wrong decision. I should have followed and dug deep, because when I stayed behind, I was left in front of the group, pulling everyone while I was already too tired from the chase we just made. And little by little, I lost it. This was the last 3 laps of the race. As the other guys passed me, Enduy Arasay decided to pull me up to the finish line, and that's how my race was concluded. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and to watch more cycling videos, click on subscribe. See you on May 26th Pruride Masters Race. Be there. After finishing the race, meron kang finisher medal. Yeah! Congratulations to me!